in regular life, every day with other people. There are some people who choose, or they think they choose, because they have the accumulations to go and live alone, and they can sit in meditation all day long. And that's okay, as long as they're doing it with the understanding that it's conditions that bring them to doing that thing. And basically it's conditions that brought us all here, and conditions that will determine whether we listen further, whether we can understand further, and go on. And there has to be, I guess, a little bit of faith, saddha, it's called, that's going to happen. But you test it out and see for yourself, and you'll see for yourself.
Anyone would like to meditate, not understanding reality right now, or just want to hear the words from Buddha and understand what he taught about reality? Because realities must be appear by conditions from life to life, from this moment to other moment, never lost. It depends on understanding. Like now, anyone would like to meditate or would like to understand? Because actually the pariyatti comes first to condition the patipatti, and without patipatti there can never be pativeda at all. Pativeda means the insight, the true nature of reality, which one has learned, like the arising and falling away, no self, no one at all. Okay, now there is seeing. Who knows that it's not self? Who knows that it's only an element which is conditioned to see and then falls away instantly? The seeing cannot think. The seeing itself cannot like or dislike. That's why one should understand one word from the very beginning. Dhamma and Nama Dhamma and Rupa Dhamma. Otherwise we'll mix and we'll think that all of them cannot be known, cannot be proven. But actually when one learns and be truthful to understand the teaching respectfully, so one never lost by doing something which does not understand what the Buddha taught about this moment at all. Anatta, see, when realities are not self, why one choose to focus or think that at that moment it's the sati, but actually sati is anatta. Yeah. How can one have sati at will? Is there any way to have sati? Is there any way to create sati? Who can make the seeing arise? Who can make the noise or even the hearing arise? Impossible. Each moment show anatta-ness of reality, but panya is not there enough to understand the anatta-ness of reality at all. That's why one learns to understand, which would be the conditions for direct awareness, which is patipatti. So to do anything doesn't mean that there is understanding of anything. For breath, what is breath? See? Can anyone who concentrate or have breath as the object of meditation tell about? Is it different from softness or heat at any part of the body? Why just breath? Which is more subtle than the ordinary hardness and softness that can be experienced from head to toe at anywhere of the body. See, breath is very subtle, because now even there is breath, who knows breath or who knows the hardness or softness? Anywhere, not breath, see. And in Tipitaka it says that very wise men like Arahata can have breath as the object of understanding. Yeah. But people today just want to concentrate on breath, thinking that the eye can know the truth of breath. The truth of breath is the anatta-ness, which is conditioned. No one can do, no one can get it at will. Because it's so short, when sati does not arise, it's gone. Each moment is gone with ignorance, because there is no understanding. And the person who doesn't have understanding accumulates more and more and more and more ignorance and misunderstanding too. And that is not the teachings of the Buddha at all. One has to be very faithful to oneself and respectful to the Buddha. Instead of wanting to meditate, I'd like to know what meditation is. Not just come and meditate without telling about meditation.
Counting only.
No, who is counting? And what is counting? See, isn't just thinking about number, not on breath at all. If breath is the object of understanding, it has to be anatta, by conditions. Not anyone tries to have it as object at all. Like now, we have different objects depending on each accumulation. At moment of seeing, there can be moment of hearing. Different people experience different objects. No rules at all. No time to begin to try to know. And why try? Because vayamo is right effort. See? It's right when it accompanies right understanding. Even sati is right when it accompanies right understanding. That's why there's not just the right Eightfold Path, but there also is right, wrong Eightfold Path. Excuse me, wrong Eightfold Path. Wrong views, right. Okay.
They explain in Samadhi-Sutta.
Right.
Very
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when there is right understanding, it conforms with every word of the teachings, like anatta-ness. Okay. And what is the first truth of the noble truth of the four? The arising and falling away, not just the feeling or the unpleasant time at all. Even now, Panya can experience the arising and falling away, the dukkha. Because there are dukkha.
Adukkha Sukha.
Yes. Lifelong study, because Buddha taught for 45 years, not just 10 minutes or 1 hour. I think that it's good to know that one has accumulated lots of ignorance and sakkaya ditthi, common to everyone who hasn't heard the teachings yet. Sakkaya. Betty, would you like to talk about Kaya and Sakkaya?
The Kaya, the body, we think that there's a body here. because we think we see a body when we look at somebody else, or we look at in the mirror, we see a body. But no matter how much we look, we can never see a whole body. You never see the back. You know, if you're looking at the front, you don't see the back. You don't see a whole body. Okay? But what the body really is when we're seeing is just visible object. And that's all it is. Because there's no body. So but there is something there. There has to be something there, or else we couldn't have any concepts about it. So there has to be something there. So what's there? Well, we have rupa, which is materiality, and we have nama, which is mentality. And these two parts work together so that sense objects are realized through the sense doors. Okay? For instance, that's the only thing that the body, or that we think is a body, can do. We see visible object, we hear sounds, we smell odors, we taste things, we can touch. It's either hard, or it's got temperature, or it's moving or not moving, and that's all there is, really. But because of memory and because of feeling, we think, I look at, see, that's Ajahn. Okay? Memory tells me that that's Ajahn, because the mind door has created an image with shape and form. Okay, that you know. So that's basically what this body is. The realities that make up what we think is a body, our mind gives it a shape and a form, and we say, and we name it. We say, there's Ajahn, there's Piwira, there's etc. Okay? But in actual fact, there's no real body here. This is the hardest thing to learn. We think there's a body. It's called Sakkaya Ditthi. We think there's a body. Because, well, the body gets hurt. You know, we get sores, we go to the doctor, go get an operation, doctor cuts something. We think that there's a real body here. But the more we learn, the more understanding we have, the more we realize that it's just those realities, rupa and the two types of nama, citta and cetasika. And that's it. You know, and yet we attach a lot of importance to this body. We think, this person's going to do something nasty to me, and that one's going to do something nasty, and I'm getting old, or I don't have a nice shape anymore, or something like that. We put a lot of store on that. We buy a lot of makeup, we go and have nose jobs, we go and do all kinds of stuff like this because we think it makes us look better, and so forth. When in actual fact, all of that is nonsense. It's useless. We don't need to do any of that. I still think there's a body here, because I do. I get my nails done, etc. So so it takes lifetimes to learn that really this body is very unsubstantial, and there's nothing really here except those realities. Okay.
Is that if the people try to understand the conditions of breathing, like if he wish to know the touching by, the flow of the air by the nose, anything that is warm, or watching that is warm, or watching that is soft or not hardness, is that attaching to the body or Sakkaya Ditthi?
But that's all it is. It's just hardness and warm and soft and all that.
If we try to think that it is hardness, it is warm, it is warm, is that if one try to think that this is concentrating on the breathing, that this is warm, it is flowing, and is that Sakayatiti or not?
I think it's still Sakayatiti because you're trying to do it. Yeah, you're trying to say, okay, now I'm going to sit and concentrate on I'll say the breath, or I'm going to try and concentrate on coldness hitting the body, or whatever, or warmth. Oh yeah, it's warm today, so I'm gonna sit and concentrate on the heat making me sweat, or something. Or even just breathing. I'm going to sit and concentrate on breathing, because there's no you to sit and concentrate. There's conditions, so you can't. You can try and say. Some people will say, okay, today I'm going to meditate for 4 hours or whatever. But there's a misunderstanding there because you're going under the assumption that there's a body who can sit and meditate, a person who can sit and meditate, when in actual fact there's no person to sit and meditate. Whoops, it's raining. See? We have realities coming down on us all the time. Now we got rain. And what do we feel? What is the reality of the rain? It's cold, it's moving, it's soft. Those are the realities of the rain. And that's it. But our mind says, rain, we remember that, rain. So we think it's rain, and the raindrops and all this kind of thing.
It's a very subtle point, because you see that when we talk about ditthi, it's not right. It has to be wrong. It depends on whether how strong it is or how subtle it is. Usually the Sakayatiti is very common for everyone, but it does mean that any time one know what is Sakayatiti. It depends on whether it's the moment after seeing and the citta which follows. Remember the characteristic and knows that what is it, like Buddha knows Sariputta and Buddha knows Moggallana and so forth. It's not Ditthi or Sakayatiti. But for those who do not understand what appears as a reality, just one at a time, and take the nimitta of many processes of experiencing whatever appears as something permanent, something stay, as something like microphone that is Sakaya or Attanuditi. Take a reality for something, just for something like paper, the idea of it, with wrong view, not just the understanding the shape and form after seeing. So it depends on right understanding with direct awareness at that moment to know whether there is ditthi or no ditthi. It's just understanding what the object is as usual. The more one studies, one can understand the teachings clearer and clearer too, to see the difference.
So here in the Dhamma is very important.
Very important, yes. Pariyatti, yeah. And who knows that we take the whole body for permanent thing. But actually, what about the space in between the kalapa, very tiny, all over the body? Like here too, there must be the akasa or space in between everything. So how can this be permanent? It can be broken to the tiniest piece at any time. So where am I? Is this I? No, not at all. And also nama too. The nimitta of feeling is not just one moment of feeling, many moments to know whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. It can be known with right understanding. Yeah. For example, the color or that which is seen now, right now, is real. It has a reason. Otherwise, how can it appear? See, but no one understands this characteristic as a Dhamma, a kind of Dhamma. And not just the reality that can be seen. What about that which sees? Different reality. Because the reality which cannot experience or know anything, like sound, hardness, all these are realities which cannot experience anything. So what we take for I, or living being like animal, or no matter what planes, there must be another reality which experiences or know whatever appears. And the Pali term used the term rupa for any reality which cannot experience anything, like sound, smell, taste, touch. They cannot experience. So Buddha used the term rupa Dhamma. If there is only just rupa by conditions, the world is not like this. But the world of dukkha is the moment of experiences and object not understand its nature as it just arises and falls away. So there is condition to cling to that which is seen. Even that which is seen has fallen away yesterday or a moment ago, but memory still cling. Take it for something permanent, like now we're sitting here, see? But actually each moment or each reality is so short, quite short, beyond expectation or anyone can know. Otherwise, everyone can experience the arising and falling away, the impermanence. But why can't them? Because realities arise and falls away unknowingly. And it goes on like something permanent all the time. For example, like when one is fast asleep, where is that person? Where are we? At moment of being fast asleep, the world does not appear. But whenever there is seeing, the world appears. And at moment of hearing, the world and other world appear. See, there are only 6 worlds, but they arise alternately so fast that they come together like something like I or something permanent. That's why before he can enlighten the true nature of realities, it took quite a long, long time to become detached from clinging the samudaya. That should be eliminated until it's completely eradicated. Like the Four Noble Truths, if one has still cling to the result, the I wanting to experience or to have panya, it hinders, it closes the door, the path to become enlightened. Because even right now, who knows that realities arise and falls away? Those who have developed right understanding, until the attachment or the clinging to the objects is lesser and lesser and lesser. Nothing can hinder the true nature of the arising and falling away right now. So it's the matter of understanding from hearing, considering, and really understand what Dhamma is. Because most people think that it's in the book. Just talk about the Four Noble Truths or the Paticcasamuppada or Ayatana. But it's this moment, Ayatana. See, the Cakkupasada is the inner, and the visible object which is seen is the outer. Both are ayatana, cakkayatana and rupayatana. See, no one can condition seeing, because even seeing as ayatana is conditioned by many, many conditions. Without the previous moment, there can never be seeing. And when the object is pleasant, who condition the seeing to experience that? The kusala kamma which has done, no matter how long this life or other life, can condition seeing pleasant object when time comes only. But when it's not the time for the kusala vipaka, that person cannot see the pleasant object. So there are many, many conditions for anything to arise in split seconds. Each must be conditioned by not just single condition at all. By this way, one learns to understand the wisdom of Buddha and his compassion to teach the other to understand reality like him, because some has accumulation of saddha and panya to see the value of the understanding of the teaching. So it's just about any time, any moment. We never lost the Dhamma at all. Yeah. It's about just to eliminate lesser and lesser attachment to all objects which are experienced through the 6 doorways. Because there's attachment unknowingly all the time so fast. Like Buddha said that the rupa lasts for 17 moments of citta. The citta arises and falls away faster than a kalapa of rupa. So he said that one rupa lasts for 17 moments. The citta and cetasika arise together and falls away 17 times. One rupa arises. And now, at the moment of seeing and the moment of hearing cannot be simultaneously at the same time, because it's conditioned by different conditions. And the seeing consciousness without the eye base or eye sense, it's impossible to arise. But it seems like they arise together. So how fast 17 moments would be? Faster than we can imagine. And before one rupa has fallen away, attachment is there. Because it's not just one moment of seeing. There are the following cittas which experience the same object which hasn't fallen away yet. And it's time for akusala to arise before one tiny slupa, karapa, fall away. So each day the akusala is accumulated from moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking all day. And how many days from birth? And how many would be before death? See? So it's only the teaching of Buddha which can help people to understand, but actually one clings to that which arises and falls away. Like the bare hand, when it's like this, we think that we cling. Something is here inside, but actually there's nothing. Yeah, it's like each moment, previous moment's gone. See? So it cannot be I or anyone at all. All namas and rupas, all conditioned realities. So one cannot expect how long one will take to develop right understanding. When one reads about the previous life of the Savaka and Therateri, they had developed quite long time. For Sariputta, one asankaya and 100,000 kappa to be the great disciples. And for the others, about 100 kappa. Kappa is not a day, not a month, not a life, uncountable lives. So when one has opportunity to hear Dhamma, it's not just luck or happening. It comes from previous accumulation. And by having such very deep and certain confidence, one keep on developing understanding, because Buddha taught people to understand by different ways, not just sit and know nothing. And so when people do not study carefully about the Satchayana, Kichayana, and Katayana, no Satchayana, no Pariyatti. So how come the understanding. When the person who want to develop or to bhavana or patipatti, because they don't know that pariyatti is the very well versed foundation of understanding of Dhamma, that nothing can move sati, sampachanya, away from reality right now. Because usually one keeps on moving away from seeing to thinking about what is seen and the story of what is seen. And at moment of hearing, no attention, no satta, no sati to understand hearing as a reality which hears no one at all. And by not understanding the teachings, one turn away from hearing and think lots about what is heard. See, and life is like this, no matter where in the world or in heaven. When one hasn't listened to the teachings yet, how can one know about reality right now as the teachings of the Buddha, the enlightened one? He kept on teaching and teaching from the early time of his enlightenment until nearly at his death, just to help people to see the value of understanding in order to have less and less attachment. Otherwise, there can never be a moment of experiencing Nibbana at all. Not knowing reality right now as just conditioned reality, no self, the idea of I will develop or I will do something or patipatti in order to gain Nibbana is useless. No understanding, because it's no one who experiences Nibbana, the highly developed Panya, which can understand realities at any time by listening, considering, which can be conditioned for direct awareness. Because now seeing is this moment is not the previous one, and the next one of the previous moment is the present one, and then this one is past again. See, yeah. So it's so precious to understand the depth of the teaching and really seeing Buddha when one understands his teaching. Otherwise, it's just a statue only. But the teaching is not the statue, and he didn't ask anyone to be the teacher because he had taught everything so well. Each word is truth, like Dhamma. In Thailand, some people take time going north, west, south to look for Dhamma. But when anyone understands what Dhamma is, one doesn't have to go anywhere because any moment is Dhamma. So it depends on understanding from hearing and considering as pariyatti, which can condition patipatti, which the Thai use the term patibat. Patipatti means that which reaches reality with right understanding from pariyatti. Without hearing and considering as pariyatti, no conditions for direct awareness to begin to understand reality, which is so very deep. For example, who can think about that which is eye base or eye sense as ayatana at moment of seeing? See, at this moment, what is seen is ayatana, and seeing itself, the manayatana, and the pasatharupa is chakayatana, and cetasikas, which arise with the seeing, is dhammayatana. All four have to be presented at that moment, or now at this moment. See? So people just read about ayatana and can remember the 6 and the 12, but not knowing ayatana right now. Yes, the living one, the real one, not the past one. So by understanding ayatana at moment of experiencing anything, it is ayatana right then. And not just one ayatana, not just only the inner, and the outer, but Chitta, Cetasika, and Rupa, right then. All are conditioned just to condition one moment of seeing, that which arise and fall away. No matter what we take for a permanent thing, okay? Because sanya, memory. And in Tipitaka it says about the nimitta of the five khandas. Okay? It shows that there cannot be the understanding of one characteristic of a reality at a time. Because right now, who can tell the moment of seeing before moment of like or dislike, reality which appears?
So right view and right understanding is
Right.
that is why it's
Yes, use the microphone. Use the microphone so we can record.
So it is always important to have a right view and right understanding together.
Yes.
As Eightfold Path, the first right view and the right understanding.
Because if one is asked what right view is, it's right understanding. Many words which have the same meaning, like vinyana, mano, mana, hataya, pandara, same meaning. So in other words, like the Thai, they use the term panya, Pali term, but they cannot tell what panya knows. Just panya. But what panya knows? Can it know or understand reality right now? If not, it's not panya that Buddha taught. Okay.
the object to be understood. So this is Patipati.
So can we say that Pativeda then is a direct result of Patipati?
Yes, without Patipati, no Pativeda. So Patipati actually refers to the direct understanding of reality. In other words, Satipatthana, the understanding and awareness of whatever reality appears. And it is the development of Satipatthana that leads to Pativeda, beginning with the first Vipassana Jnana, the clear understanding of the distinction between Nama and Rupa. So Pativeda is the insight into those realities which have been directly understood through the development of Satipatthana.
And they are different levels of understanding. So understanding of the highest level penetrates. So they all refer to citta with panya, but at different levels of panya.
From the first Vipassana Jnana up to the highest enlightenment. So also each stage of enlightenment is Pativeda, full realization of the truth at different levels. So without the pariyati, the right understanding of the realities appearing now, intellectually, there cannot be the direct understanding, the development of Satipatthana. And without this development of Satipatthana, there cannot be Vipassana Jnana and enlightenment, which is the Pativeda, the realization.
I think because I was confused with several sources that you read it in, they usually say Pativeda, they usually translate that as enlightenment, you know, as if it were one of the stages of enlightenment, which it could be, but it to me, any level.
Yes, it also includes Vipassana Jnana, the clear understanding of reality.
Okay, thank you. Good.
It's same as when we read about Satya Jnana, Kitcha Jnana, Kata Jnana. Kata Jnana is the realization, the penetration of the four truths from the realization at the level of Vipassana Jnana up to and including each stage of enlightenment.
But I like to be at the beginning, and that's why I liked the discussion with David the other day, because David said people who do not have any knowledge of Buddhism and have never heard the Dhamma, how can we help them? Because they are confronted with disease and death and have come to the end of their life. I like such questions. And then Jonathan said, everyone is different and it's very hard to tell for one person is helpful, what is not helpful for another. But life in samsara is illness and death. So it's very good to ponder about this. I think it is helpful that nobody can know the next moment or decide what is the next moment in life. Maybe this is something that all people can more or less check for themselves. I find it a very interesting topic.
And I see that David is here. David, did you have a chance to consider some of the discussion from a couple of weeks ago? And do you have any further questions or comments?
Sorry, no. I tried to study Abhidhamma, but for the few time I have, I'm a bad student. So I try to progress, to make some progress, but also I have to study all the words you use, Pali terms, and so on. And so maybe now I haven't lots of questions because I'm not advanced in study, so I have to listen and to learn something.
Yes. Don't mind about all the terms and the words, because what Ajahn always tells us, it's not the word, but the reality in life that we can try to understand or develop understanding of at this moment. Like seeing now, we don't need any terms, but what is seeing? Is it different from hearing, or is it different from thinking about what is seen? All these different realities that appear now, it's really not so complicated. Don't worry about all the terms.
Okay.
Yes, we think of Abhidhamma as some details and numbers and names and terms in the book, but actually Abhidhamma is just now, the seeing now, as Nina said, the hearing now, the thinking now, clinging now, annoyance now, just the realities in life now, whatever term or label we use. This is Abhidhamma. It just refers to the Dhamma now, the reality now, which is very subtle. That is the meaning of Abhidhamma. It's the subtle reality in life. Otherwise, if we just study or learn what is in the book, it doesn't lead to any true study. What the Buddha meant by true study is understanding what appears right now in life. So we have to, first of all, just understand a little more about what is Dhamma, what is reality, and which are the Dhammas that can experience and which are the Dhammas that don't experience anything. And this is the true Abhidhamma study. So from the discussion we had last time, what do you understand to be Dhamma or reality at this moment?
I find very useful. I think your approach to Buddhism is to focus on the single moment of consciousness, I think. Not to follow every thought, but to focus on the single moment and the changing of the single instant of consciousness. And I think this is very useful to put away thoughts that worries. And I find it very, very useful.
And what do you mean by focus? Focus on a present reality?
Present moment.
Or present moment of consciousness. What is focus?
To put my attention to what is happening just now in this single moment. And I find it useful in the sense that it's quite, it brings you some peace of mind just to do this little exercise. I know maybe I'm sure that it's not the higher state of mind that Vipassana student can reach, but I find in my daily life this is useful. Maybe for me it's useful. It's more useful in the moment that I don't have to do anything. Maybe while I'm not concentrating on some busy work, and I can take a rest. I can take a rest. In this moment, this is very useful. But when I am doing something which is complicated, maybe I'm talking with a patient, and so I have to think to therapy. I have to think to emotions, my emotion and other people emotion, and how to connect with this patient. What can I do for him to make him better? So while I'm doing this thing, I can't use Dharma teaching, maybe because I'm not advanced in this study.
So if we think of focus, then there's a conflict, isn't there, between doing our job or something else that is of interest to us and focusing on this present moment. But what the Buddha taught was just the understanding of the present moment. The present moment is important because only what is present at the present moment can be the object of direct understanding. But that doesn't mean that, and the Buddha didn't teach that there needs to be a focusing on the present moment, because the understanding that he spoke about arises by conditions of having heard the Dhamma and reflected on the deep meaning of that description of the present moment. So we are not talking here about necessarily focusing on something, because that's an idea of selection and of gaining understanding by our effort. But rather we learn to, we talk about what may be appearing at the present moment and can be the object of understanding if it arises. And so there's no conflict in that way between the development of the path taught by the Buddha and our interest or having to focus on other things in our daily life, which is the case for all of us.
A peace of mind is not the aim when you are talking to your patients and they don't have peace of mind. It helps them to understand also that is conditioned. It's all conditioned. It has conditions that they don't have peace of mind. So we don't look for peace of mind, but just whatever unpleasant or pleasant feeling, whatever, to understand it better and understand that it is not in our hands, but that there are conditions which make this moment occur the way it is. And we can understand that Dhamma is Dhamma and it is no other way. Nobody can change it. Maybe it can help your patients.
Yes, maybe if I find a patient who can use thoughts and philosophy in this way, but many times patients are focusing on fighting the disease, fighting in their problems. So sometimes it's also difficult to make the patient think, now I have to make you feel better. Put aside for a moment your fighting with the disease. Now I have to give you some drugs to feel better. And so maybe sometimes he don't want to use drugs because maybe I feel too sleepy, maybe I'm not so efficient in my daily life. And so it's very difficult to put the patient in this state of mind in which you have to relax. You have to not to think of the disease. You have to just to think to feel better. So sometimes it's difficult also to do this.
It's I'm sorry for interrupt, but it's not about doing. It's all by condition. Can you stop thinking from arising? It's not whether apply. That is doing, and that's not understanding. Thinking like can you control to think anything? No, right?
Sorry, I didn't understand. Sorry.
Like you were saying that, oh, don't do this, don't think, try to like that, but that is not understanding. Thinking arises by condition. Can you stop thinking to think like that? No, because there's condition to think like that. That's why I think like that.
Yes, yes.
Let's just come back to now, because like you said, actually there is just the present moment now. So it begins with the understanding of what is real now, what is the truth now, what appears now. So at this moment, what are the realities? Because you mentioned focusing on the present moment, but this is too vague. What is the present moment? What is the reality of life now that can be understood? Can you give some examples?
I think when a patient is in a difficult situation and with a bad disease, he can't accept. It's very difficult to accept. Maybe you can't accept something bad, but it's very, very, very difficult to accept that your life is ending, or that you have a bad disease, that you have just few months of life. I think this is very difficult to maybe just spiritual people and
what about now for us now, like at this moment? In truth, is there any I or any self that can choose what to focus on, or who can control life, or who can stop bad thoughts arising, or can make calmness arise right now? Can anyone do anything? Can anyone use the teachings? Can anyone make understanding arise now?
maybe not.
Maybe not. Definitely
Yeah.
not.
No, I think
it
this,
seems we're used to the idea that I can do something, I can stop irritation occurring, I can make peace arising, but actually we live in a fantasy, because this is the point that Akil was making. The seeing now arises by conditions to see what is visible. Sorry, Haji, I mean. And the thinking now arises by conditions to think about what is seen. Attachment now arises by conditions to cling to what is seen. Aversion arises now by conditions to be annoyed with what is seen or heard or felt. So actually there are just the realities which experience arising and falling away, like seeing and thinking and hearing and attachment and aversion, and those realities arising which don't experience anything, such as the sound that is heard, the hardness that is touched, the different rupas in life. So gradually we learn that no one can do anything or make anything arise at will, but there can be a little more understanding in life now. And this is the beginning of the path taught by the Buddha. So we can think about, well, what would it be like in another time or another situation? But actually it comes back to this moment of seeing now. If there's no understanding of seeing now, the reality which arises by its conditions and sees what is visible, or hearing now, or other realities, then there won't be any understanding when we're lying in pain on our deathbed, for example. So the path has to begin with the understanding at this moment and gradually develop. And the main point is that there are just these different realities, the namas which experience and the rupas that don't experience anything, which arise and fall away instantly, and none of them belong to me. So it's not I who can focus, or I who can study, or I who can have this or that experience. There are just different realities in life which arise and fall away. And each one is impermanent. And because it's impermanent, it's not satisfactory. So no matter now or then, whatever arises is unsatisfactory because it's not in anyone's control at all.
I would like just add, like some people may think that there is I and all that. They accept that life is uncontrollable, but there is that me who cannot control. That nothing to do with understanding the anatta-ness of Dhamma. Because Dhamma is Dhamma, that's why it anatta and are uncontrollable. So people who say that there's me and all that, but life are uncontrollable, has nothing to do with understanding of anatta-ness of Dhamma, because they don't understand the Dhamma. That is Dhamma.
And Ajahn, are you there? Ajahn?
Yes,
Swadika,
Ajahn, yes.
Thank you.
Ajahn, would you like to say anything
about?
What we have discussed?
Okay. At first, I think that we should know our own interest, what we are interested now, to understand Dhamma, to know the truth of that which is now appearing, or just to think about this and that, which doesn't bring any understanding of this moment, which is so real because it's there. Feeling is real, it's there. And what is it? There cannot be the understanding the truth of it at all if there is no words which talk about it or explain about the truth of it. Just see, and then hear, and then think, and then nothing else. Just arising and falling away, different moment, different realities. And is that not life? Or what is life? The moment of birth is not this moment. And what is life from moment of birth up to now? What are they? Where are they now? They were there, and where they are now. No more, just only once, just in a split second, in samsara and then gone. Is this not true? We have to understand that from birth to death, if there's no words about this moment, how can there be the understanding of life or the truth of that which is there no more, just appears and disappears instantly, all the time, succeedingly, unknowingly? Take it for something permanent, like I was born and now I'm sitting here, but not the same moment at all, not the same reality. So what is the truth of life? Shouldn't be understood? Should it be known, the truth? Or just, it doesn't matter at all, just live and die. And what about those pleasant moments or sufferings in life? Gone completely. Not even thinking about it at all, because even thinking gone. Nothing can stay at all. Just arise and then gone. That's all. Is this not true? To begin to understand what we take for I, of the world, of this person, of that thing. Actually, Where are they now? In truth, they are completely gone. Absolutely. Never to return at all. And is this not life? From moment to moment, that's all. Uncontrollable. Just like the blind person who cannot know at all what is there because there's no seeing. And seeing is the understanding, the truth of this moment. Otherwise, it is blinded up like the succession of the arising and falling away of each different one. Condition the mark, the symbol, or whatever is there as something like people, or even it's not people, it's a doll, an arm, or whatever, pistol, or whatever is there. Just the idea of that, which is not there anymore. So what we take for I, 7 years ago, 20 years ago, where were they? No more at all. It's just this moment, different from previous moments, completely, never be the same at all. Even it appears like it's the same, but it's a succession of the conditioned reality to appear as nimitta, or sign, or mark, symbol of something there. But actually, it's only thinking, because in truth, life is only in a moment. At moment of seeing, there cannot be thinking, there cannot be hearing, there cannot be other thing which can be experienced, only that which is seen, and then gone. Who knows? But the truth is that. And when it's so true, it's more and more truth, deeper and deeper, because the enlightened moment of the Buddha is the moment of enlightened absolute truth of everything. Never change at all. Because it just conditioned to arise and fall away. Who can change that which is gone completely? Nothing can be done at all. Right now. There is not just seeing, there is thinking, and there is hearing. They are not the same. They are different conditioned reality, different moments. So what moment is taken for I? Because it's gone completely, never to return. Just to learn to understand what we take for life, that we don't know the truth of it, but the truth is there by the Buddha, who had enlightened the truth and shared with everyone the absolute truth. That very, very precious to know the truth rather than be blind in one's life, like living in the dream, and when one wakes up, what are there in the dream? It's not there anymore. What are there now? It's not there anymore. Just like a dream of each moment. Is this not true? And if it is true, it can be known little by little until it appears clearly one by one. So there's no doubt about that which is now there together as something, but actually each reality is just one, cannot be two. Seeing is seeing, and one seeing is not the other seeing. Is this true? Just learn about to understand the truth. That's all. And understanding develops from hearing, considering, and understanding little by little until it can penetrate the truth, which is so very, very deeply and very, very subtle. But the truth is that whenever it appears, it's gone. That is the truth. But now it does not appear as it is. That's why, because Panya just cling to the other thing which arises. So that one which has fallen away cannot be understood as it's not there anymore. And it's so true this moment, every day, anytime. See, the truth must be the truth. This is the beginning of understanding the truth of what is there from birth to death. No one there. Before being born this person, where were you? See? No you, but there must be conditioned reality arising and falling away. And that is anatta, no one, no self. Who can do anything? The way it is, no one can change. The way it has conditions for its arising, so it arises and then gone. If this is not worthwhile to understand, it depends on whether how much you think that the best thing in life is to understand the truth. Because we live in the world which is not as it is. It seems like we live in the world of people and things, but what is there? What we take for a thing can be broken up into just very tiny piece. Can that be mountain? Can that be flower? Can that be bed or anything? Not at all. And it's just there for a very, very short moment and then gone, unknowingly. Only when right understanding develops enough, hearing the truth, and then consider it and understand that it has to be as it is. No one at all. Because where was I yesterday? Not I today. And tomorrow, not this one, but another one. It means that another absolute reality is conditioned to arise on and on and on and on, differently. Different moments, different reality. So that cannot be anyone because they are all gone completely. If it's not true, how can there be yesterday, today, tomorrow, born and die? And so what was left after death? Nothing at all. So nothing is left at this moment. It dies temporarily, death, never to return the same. Is this not true? It's just a matter for thinking about the truth, whether it's worthwhile to understand or it is the best thing, the most precious thing for this life, to understand the truth of life, of everything.
And David, Ajahn used the term absolute reality a minute ago, and I don't know if you're familiar with this expression, but it refers to what can be directly experienced at the present moment, not just thought about or conceptualized or conceived. So there can be thinking about yesterday and tomorrow, but the object of that thinking is not something that can be directly experienced. But there is hearing at the moment, for example, and hearing experiences sound. And both the consciousness that arises at the ear and the sound that it experiences are realities that can be directly known. So they're absolute realities. But the words that are being spoken and the meaning is something that comes about by thinking about the sound that has been heard, right? So one doesn't hear the meaning of words or doesn't actually hear words. Hearing experiences sound, and then there's thinking about the sound, and there is the idea of words spoken and their meaning. So that's thinking. So words and meaning are not absolute realities, cannot be directly experienced, do not have a characteristic. And so the development of understanding is about understanding what is real in the absolute sense and can be directly experienced at the present moment. And that's the importance of the present moment.
And when we talk about the present moment or the absolute realities at the present moment, such as seeing and hearing and thinking, these realities are just the same no matter now or no matter when shopping or driving a car or when helping, assisting patients. There is still seeing, there's still hearing, there's still thinking. So it's not a matter of trying to focus or applying Dharma or doing anything. It's a matter of just beginning to understand what is real right now or at any time, just beginning to be more familiar with what life really is now or any time. So not a matter of stopping and observing or focusing, but gradually the understanding works its way. It gets used to understanding that there are just these different phenomena in life, no one there at all.
And just one other comment I want to make before you respond. You mentioned at the beginning about being interested in studying the Abhidhamma. And the important thing here to bear in mind, I think, is that what is in the Abhidhamma is the same as what is in the suttas, but it's just presented in a different way. So they are not different parts of the Dhamma at all. And there's a huge overlap anyway between the language of the suttas and the language of the Abhidhamma. So it's all about what is real at the present moment in the absolute sense.
I have a question about the present moment when there is pain. If you feel a painful body sensation or painful thought, something painful, I have to ask if Buddha, when Buddha feels something painful, is his mind in a very peaceful state? So is his mind accepting in is it when you feel a pain, can you accept totally what you are living? Is it enough to think this pain is just a moment and it will pass away? Or maybe there's a path which you can follow and then be with your pain in a different way? Because now I think, even if I am not a great practitioner of meditation, when I feel a pain, I can think, well, it will pass away. And so I can stay with my pain. But there's some thought which tells me, yes, but this thing is not very good anyway. So I have to do something.
But that is not the understanding the pain itself, right? What is it? Everyone has painful feeling, but not understanding how come the painful feeling and what is there in reality. At moment of painful feeling, is there any other thing appear?
I think it appears.
What is appearing? Only pain, or other thing can be directly experienced together in a
yes,
moment?
Other things, thoughts and the soul and other things, other imagination.
That's why we have to understand each word, what is meant by soul, what is meant by this and that. So now we just talk about the pain itself, not seeing, not hearing, not thinking, only pain. Is it real?
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Sorry. Yes, I think there is the sensation, which is
It's a reality, can we say that? Because it is there, conditioned to be there. No one can make it arise. It is conditioned already for it to arise. No one can stop its arising. And pain is not seeing, and pain is not thinking. So pain is just pain, and it cannot last. As long as there are conditions for its arising, it arises. But when no condition for its arising, it cannot arise at all. Is that not true? Just pain. Pain must be only pain. Can it be hearing? Can pain think? Not at all. And can it last? In truth, it arises and falls away in split seconds. But as long as there are conditions for pain to arise, it still arises, arising and falling away until no condition for its arising anymore. Just like seeing, when one closes one's eyes or while one is fast asleep, no condition for seeing to arise. So how can it arise? Each moment is conditioned just to arise to be only that, and then gone completely, never to return. Even seeing right now is not seeing a moment ago. Pain right now is not pain yesterday. See? So what is it? That which is conditioned to arise, arising and falling away. All life, each life, no matter how long time ago, life is just like this. Next life, past life, future lives, all the same. And this is meant, and it means that what we are talking about, that no one can make it arise, no one can stop its falling away, is absolute truth. No one can take it for I at all. It's gone completely. And no matter how much you'd like it to arise this or that way, it cannot arise. It depends on its proper conditions to arise, just to be such. No one can change.
David, I think what Ajahn was asking you is that she's asking that when there's pain, can be, it seems like there's thinking also at the same time, seeing and all that, right? But actually, if Buddha didn't, if there was no enlightenment of Samma Sambuddha, like we would think that, oh, I can see and hearing at the same time and all that, but actually only one at a time. But everything arise and fall continuously, rapidly, so fast that it appears that everything appear at a time, but actually only at the moment of seeing they cannot be hearing, moment of hearing they cannot be thinking. Each consciousness can know only one object at a time, but everything is so fast. Like I just do this much, million consciousness has already passed. So it seems like everything happened at the same time, but actually it does not. One only appear at a time.
And David, you were wondering about the Buddha experiencing pain and how he reacts to it, I think, and whether for the average person there's something that there's a way of reacting to pain that helps reduce the effect. So first of all, painful bodily feeling is not the same as the reaction to it. Most people, when they experience a pleasant object, a pleasant taste or a pleasant softness or a pleasant smell, there is attachment. For most of us, that's the norm. And when there is an unpleasant object, there is aversion. But of course, it depends on, because everyone's accumulated tendencies are different, there'll be different degrees of aversion to painful bodily feeling, and also, of course, depending on the severity of the painful feeling. But for the Buddha, because he has eradicated all wholesome and unwholesome, all unwholesome tendencies, there is no more aversion, just the experiencing of painful bodily feeling. But of course, that can be very painful too, because it depends on it's a result of past deeds. So the Buddha doesn't deal with pain anyway, but he doesn't have aversion to it. So there is not the second arrow that he spoke about in the suttas. The first arrow being the painful bodily feeling, the second arrow being the aversion that follows after that. And finally, the emphasis of his teaching was on understanding the reality that arises, not how to deal with pain or how to have less painful, less aversion and more detachment. Because I think that's what you're asking. Can one be detached from the effects of the painful bodily feeling? And well, as we've been saying, all of the accumulated tendencies arise and fall away depending on the individual's particular level of accumulation and so forth. So they cannot be controlled. They happen before there's anything to be done about it. They are conditioned, but they can be understood.
Yes. Thank you.
Sarah, no voice.
We have to distinguish between the conventional truths and the absolute truths. So in our everyday language, we can say, yes, we have to deal with the pain, we have to take medication, we need to rest our legs up when they're in pain, and so on. And this is helpful, and one often needs a doctor's advice to know what to do. But in the absolute sense, which the Buddha taught, there are just different realities. No matter one is taking the medication or not taking the medication, there are still just seeing and hearing and thinking, painful bodily feeling, mental aversion, as Jonathan mentioned, which is different realities, each one of which is conditioned, none of them in anyone's control. So even when we talk about taking the medicine, in truth, it's just seeing, hearing, thinking, different bodily acts conditioned by the mental states and so on. So we learn to distinguish between the absolute and the conventional truths so that life carries on as normal. We do our jobs, we help the patients, we live with our family, take children to school and so on, but learn that however life goes, there are just these different absolute realities which are not in anyone's control at all.
When one has never heard about the Dhamma, one thinks on own thoughts, one's own problems, experience are so important. But now we learn, it's emphasized so much that everything is gone immediately and so short. And Ajahn talks about this life and where were we before this life and the past life. It's all very relative, not so important as we thought before. So I think this could help your patients to see it more as not so important.
Thank you.
And David, when we say pain or aversion or angry, it's not that it's anyone or of anyone. They're just Dhamma. So when we say my pain, actually there's no me or my or of me. When David is angry, it's David angry or anger of David. It's none. It's just Dhamma. So Dhamma Adhamma is not that me who angry, my feeling and all that is just Dhamma and not of anyone or anyone at all.
Ajahn, were you going to speak?
I think that the point should be the understanding of the absolute truth. Otherwise, it's just a story. Even we just talk about the name, chitta or cetasika, and pain or trouble and so on. But what is the reality? The absolute reality is there. Pain is pain. Seeing is seeing. Where am I? Can seeing be I because it's gone? We learn to understand the truth that actually there's no one. Because when we take that from me or mine of things, there must be clinging to that object, condition more and more trouble, unknown. How come? If there's no seeing at all, can there be life of that object which is seen? Because there's no seeing. So the original reality which conditioned this and that in our life must be the reality. There must be reality for sure, because even right now there is a real what is there as it is. There is seeing. Who can say that no seeing? But seeing is gone. At moment of hearing, there is no seeing. So where am I? Learn to understand the truth that actually what we take for I or thing is only the succession of the arising, falling away of different realities by conditions, and it has to be only as it by its proper condition. For example, seeing is conditioned when there is the I base. See, without the I, can there be seeing? Impossible. So how can we take it for I can do, or it's me who see? It's wrong understanding. Not understand the truth of how come to be born and to die at all. This is so true, but no understanding in all one's life. Thinking about when we were young or child, see, no such these things yet, because no condition for this to arise. So whatever is now appearing is that which is conditioned by condition, only that from life to life. That's why each life is different. And even one life for one person, each moment is different. And this is so true. It can condition less clinging with ignorance to cling with so much as I. So pain, so happy, and so on, because they are gone. See, to learn to let go the idea of wrong understanding, which is so ignorant, to take that which is not there as it's still there. No I, but the idea is that am I here. See, what is true, what is not true. And would we like to live in the untrue world from birth and on, or have the understanding of life? It's only that. And it can condition more wholesome happenings in life because of understanding the truth. No one can condition pain to arise because no one doesn't like to be painful at all. But it's there by conditions. And when we understand condition for every moment, there can be the letting go of clinging, which condition satisfactoriness or unhappiness.
And just to emphasize one thing that Sarah mentioned, I think is very important in case there's any misunderstanding. The Buddha didn't say, we are not saying one doesn't take medication, one doesn't seek treatment. If there's painful bodily feeling, obviously one does, but there's no guarantee that treatment is going to be effective or how effective. So there is still going to be bodily pain and discomfort. The Buddha also had a personal physician who attended to him during his lifetime. So I didn't mean to give the impression that because he no longer had aversion, then he didn't need to seek treatment for pain. But we are talking about the reality that arises, because no one knows whether painful bodily feeling is going to arise next or not. Just as no one knows what is going to be the object of through the eye door or the ear door or the nose door or the tongue door the next moment.
And I think that even some understanding is better than none.
Yes.
And when it's more, it's much better.
Yes.
And any understanding which leads to less clinging to oneself and the idea of I, actually conditions more goodness of different kinds, more kindness and caring with others, more consideration, more understanding of different accumulations being the way they are by conditions, not anyone's fault. So the understanding is so beneficial in so many ways, however one's life goes, for the understanding of what arises that is conditioned, and for example, understanding the difference between kindness and caring as opposed to attachment, the difference between compassion, which is never sad, and sadness, which is a kind of dosa. So understanding works its way no matter what the circumstances, no matter how our daily life goes.
Yes.
Without
Thank
any
you.
understanding, we're completely lost. We think it's my terrible pain, or we think whenever we're sad for someone that it's a kind of compassion. No idea of the difference between metta and attachment. So no understanding of anything. So it always comes back to the understanding now or any time.
Yes. Also, I think sometimes if you have real love for a person, maybe you are you want just to take some pain from her, from him, and take it on yourself, and so this can help to reduce your aversion to painful feeling, because maybe you feel that pain may be good for you, because when you take it away from another people, you feel good. So I don't know if I have explained well this concept.
And when the treatment doesn't work and one feels so sad, actually it's the clinging and the expectation that leads to the sadness. When there's genuine kindness or metta and caring, one does one's best, but it doesn't condition any sadness or grief. But all kinds of kusala, all kinds of wholesomeness have to develop with understanding. But it's understanding that learns to know the difference between what is good and beneficial and what is like clinging, like you say, for example.
Yes.
So it helps in one's work a lot to just understand that life comes back to this moment. Kindness is good, generosity is good, understanding is most beneficial of all. And what happens depends on so many different conditions. For example, the patient's karma and the chitta and the temperature, the nutriment, so many different conditions, not in anyone's control at all.
And even the Buddha could not take pain away from another person, because it's that person's vipaka. So he could help them understand the reality of the present moment, but he couldn't do anything to take a person's pain away, because that arises by conditions that are peculiar to that person. It's a result of past deeds according to his teaching. Just like there is the seeing and the hearing and the tasting of pleasant and unpleasant objects. So each of the sense doors experiences objects that are either by nature pleasant or unpleasant, and nothing can be done about that in the absolute sense. Again, conventionally, of course, it's different. One steers away from known unpleasant situations and so forth, but in the absolute sense, there is no control over what is to be experienced. And as I said, the Buddha could not directly help or intervene in another person's painful experience.
However, I think it's just worth noting that the Buddha, while what Jonathan said was correct, he couldn't take people's physical pain away. Buddhas appear in the world to enable an understanding of what really pain is ultimately about. I'm trying to put this in a way that the Buddha came to tell us about ultimately what dukkha is, or what pain is in that philosophical sense, but it is a reality caused by our attachment to the world, which causes so much suffering. So Buddhas appear in the world ultimately to deal with not only physical pain as we know it, but all sorts of difficulties and misunderstandings we may have. But you know, the Buddha is the ultimate physician, you could say, because he deals with what the real difficulties are. The pain that's conditioned by our ignorance, for example, the pain that and the difficulties of life that are conditioned by ignorance. So it's being, as I said there before, was about understanding. You know, he enabled the development of understanding of whatever reality appears, so that one day there will be no more pain. But he can't stop when a person has not got that level of understanding or hasn't got any understanding store. He patiently was with people to help them develop understanding. That was his whole mission. You know, in his last life, and many other lives, of course, he was an exemplary model of different types of behavior. But in his last life, he enabled people to develop understanding, which is the vehicle that gets them out of this the painful journey of samsara. And it is very painful. Because of ignorance, we can't see that. But he gave us the gift of understanding. So in many ways, he is the ultimate physician dealing with all sorts of difficulties in life, which can and ultimately end one day.
And what about when there is so very pleasant moment, but no understanding the pleasant moment as it is, and when it's a painful feeling, but that can be at that moment there is the understanding of the pain as it is. See, what would you select or want it this way or that way? Very pleasant feeling, pleasant time, pleasant moment, but no understanding of that moment at all. Or even it's so painful, but there is the understanding, the truth of pain as it is. What would you like? To be truthful? Because right understanding is so truthful. There can be different answers according to different explanation.
Sorry.
But with the truth of that, no matter what it is, no matter what answer is. So what would you like?
I think Tanajan's made...
What did you say, Sundra?
Oh, no, Tanajan, I was just saying that I think you made a really good point there, because when there is pleasant feeling, people often are not inclined to think about difficulty in life. Things are going, because of their attachment, things are going as they would like. according to attachment, and because there's no real understanding at all, they forget those moments of so-called happiness are also dukkha, and there will invariably be conditions for more dukkha because of that lack of understanding. So I think, when we've talked there about pleasant feeling, it's often covers over the levels of ignorance that we've accumulated. So we're less inclined to want to understand life when things are going well, and that's unfortunate.
Different answers comes from different accumulation, but they are all true for each different one. That's why we have to understand that even what is there has to be there to know whether what is what we like. But when time does not come yet, we just answer by our thought thinking this way and that way. But when time comes, really so pleasant moment, is the condition enough to understand it as just it is a reality. See, we don't stop. No one can stop it. No one can make it stay, not fall away. But even so, right understanding which has been developed and seeing the value of understanding better than other things can condition that moment. And this is the answer for those who have accumulated the precious moment of reality of understanding. But for those who begin, see, even that time come now as now, it depends on conditions. She or he might not think of other thing at all, just enjoy that moment. But for some people, there's no people, the accumulation of that person, that one, can understand that moment very naturally, because they are not self, they are no one, but they are conditioned. So in life, there must be time of enjoyment, pleasant moment or unpleasant moment, suffering and so on, different by conditions only. So it depends on that very moment to know the truth, whether how much accumulation of understanding or of ignorance and attachment. So true, and it's true. So this is the fourth noble truth, so very subtle. Only Panya can understand how long to go through ignorance and attachment. To let go just the idea, wrong understanding self from the very beginning, not other moment of pleasant moment or pleasantness. It has to go stage by stage, little by little, but the truth is so true. So it depends on whether one see that life is so short, it can be only this moment or this evening or tomorrow with ignorance or some understanding. What is better? Because
Maeve, I think you were about to speak before.
Thank you, Sarah. It was really following on from what Sundara said about the Buddha being like a physician, but also such an astute teacher. And I was thinking about how that overlap, Jonathan, that you refer to between the other teachings and the Abhidhamma, and about the suttas and the stories that the Buddha that grew up around the Buddha's life and teaching. And the story of the mustard seed always struck me as being one that really showed such an understanding about how to teach someone at a particular level. And it's also an example of how the Buddha actually did address someone's suffering, because when the young mother whose son had died comes to the Buddha and asks him to restore her son to life, she is extremely distressed. And the Buddha's advice to her that he can help her on the grounds of her being able to find a mustard seed from a house where there has been no death. And because the woman is so desperate to retrieve her son, she goes off on the search. And of course, the search informs her that the universality of death is in everybody's life. So, and the Buddha, I think we can assume, predicted that that's the conclusion that she would have come to. So when she returns to the Buddha and says, you know, I could not find a seed because everybody has experienced the death of a loved one, or more than one loss. And so her coming to terms with the truth of death was done in such a compassionate way. And I think it's a great example of how sometimes we can maybe want to help, but it's on our terms, that we want to teach someone something or try and impose our perspective, when in fact just that the essential kindness and compassion embedded in what the Buddha, how he addressed the young woman's suffering, is such a powerful example of the wisdom that's embedded in understanding, and that it is all, in that case, it was very much for the welfare and the understanding, the development of her understanding. And I recall that Ajahn, and I'm very grateful, Ajahn, to you for this. When I asked you for advice about my own mother when I was caring for her, and you just said very simply, be kind. And that advice was so useful in so many situations, because it was like the recollection of kindness, the primacy of kindness, meant that there was often times when just that sense of being kind, of not necessarily doing anything or trying to change anything, but just having, or I suppose hoping for kindness to arise. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it did not. But it's very interesting how what can flow from that intention to be kind, and often it can amount to an appropriate action, which one would not have arrived at by trying to do something or trying to alleviate the pain or trying to make someone more comfortable. The kindness is a guide in itself, I think. And so, Ajahn, I was enormously grateful to you for that very simple advice, but it was very deep as well. And maybe, David, that is something that I can share with you, just the simplicity of kindness, the simplicity and wisdom of kindness.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Lucas.
Hello, can I say
yes,
something?
Go ahead, Lucas.
Yes. Because the topic Yes, I hope you hear me well. The topic you're discussing now, actually about the unpleasant mental feeling, it covers so much about my difficulties in the last couple of weeks, because this is I feeling such a unpleasant mental feeling almost all day long since some time, and I finding that moments I cannot. I'm not able to study Dhamma at all, because you know this is like a strong mental depression, and it's like lower mood. This is like tiredness, lack of energy. You know, this is like typical mental thing, and it is so strong in my case. You know, and that's what I'm struggling last weeks. And I also wanted to add something, because in the moment of the unhappy mental feeling, there cannot be right understanding at the moment, yes? And actually, the panya can only arise with the equanimity, upekkha feeling, or the pleasant feeling, only that. So actually, at the moment when there is such unpleasantness, there cannot be right understanding at that particular moment. But they can be understood, yeah? But no, that's what I wanted to say only, you know. Really, if someone doesn't experience depression, no one can know how it is, because I really have so much pity to the people who have depression, you know, like medically. So I know it's very out of control, yeah, to have depression. So I don't think so it's good to be having constantly lasting unpleasantness, you know, all day long, you know, because usually there's supposed to be some moments of happiness, or but when depression comes, it's very rare to feel happy even for a while, you know. And that's it, you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas, and thank you, Maeve, for that those comments. Very helpful.
And we were talking about Buddha have personal physician, Chivaka, a doctor, but actually they can be physician who can cure body and all that. But the truly physician for mental disease is Samma Sambuddha, because all unwholesomeness is our mental disease, and Dhamma is truly and only medicine that can cure mental disease.
And first of all, on Maeve's points, I think these are very good points, Maeve, because being a good friend or a good daughter or a good teacher means having kindness and understanding for the other, no matter what their accumulations, no matter whether we don't know whether they will be able to understand anything or not. So we just show our kindness and help in a way that is appropriate for their interest and their level. So when my mother was dying with dementia, or when I used to work in psychiatric centers, a little bit like in David's situation, like you say, the kindness and consideration and help according to what they could understand. So sometimes when one has the confidence, one can add helpful reminders, but without expectations. So I think the understanding of Dharma leads one to know what is appropriate, which is different at every time and in every circumstance. Like I remember when Ajahn came to stay in my home in England, and she just talked to my mother about the flowers and the gardening and whatever my mother was interested in, and gradually gained the confidence and trust. So the way to help is with understanding, not with one's own agenda, like you say.
And as you said, without expectation. And I think the reminder for the kindness, which is a wholesome mental factor, is a helpful reminder also of the disadvantage of expectations as to the outcome. So it's it's giving without expecting anything in return.
And the point where John and Sarah made is a good point about expecting. When we say that no control and all that, it is true, but to be more specified, if there's an idea of do, select, expect like this, then it's not understanding Dhamma as Dhamma. And it's normal even expecting because it's nature, and that is also come by unexpectedly. Every moment unexpectedly, everything is unexpected. So whether a kindness and all that, by anatta, no selection, no choice that I'm going to have more compassion today, I see like that. Anything can happen, aversion or attachment instead of kindness and all that. So there is no selection, and this is really important because understand that Dhamma, Adhamma and Anatta.
And Ajahn, I know Lucas would like to hear your comments about what he was saying about what he considers to be the depression and how those who haven't experienced it can't really understand it and so on. Do you have any comments you would like to give him or any questions to ask?
Anachan.
Can you hear?
Okay, we can hear you.
Now we can hear you. We couldn't hear you before, Ajahn.
I turned off the microphone, sorry. Now, I think that when there is the understanding of our troubles comes from ignorance, and only right understanding can cure any situation, depending on how much understanding is there. From knowing this, there can be more interest in seeing the precious moment, precious reality, which is only one. Right understanding of the truth of the way Dhamma is. That's all. So at any moment of akusala, there can be the understanding of one's own accumulation. It's not enough to confront or to fight or to with that moment, lopa or dosa or trouble or different kind of feeling, see? All depends on understanding little by little, and panya works its way by understanding that actually there's no one, there are only different realities by conditions. There can be more understanding of no I, only panya is there or avijja is there. There are moments of lopa to be known all the time or any time because it's there, depending on it show up or not, or just a little bit or more enough to understanding it. But panya can ignore that that is not me, no matter it's so bad or so very good, no me at all. Fight with ignorance to follow the ignorance and attachment all day, see? Just like this. All right, it's there already, but what is that? Only hardness, only taste, only seeing. Begin to learn to understand the characteristic of that which appears through right understanding, not as to ignorance as before. Little by little. That's why one can see that how long there can be more confidence of the nature of reality, which cannot be taken for anyone at all, not permanent, just for a very short moment, that's all. This is so true. So no matter what we are hearing and considering now, just come to the moment of no me, no I, little by little. At the moment where one is fighting with that undesirable moment or desirable moment, no panya enough. But panya is not that, there cannot be that moment anymore, the pleasure or the trouble. But no matter what is there, there can be a little understanding from the very beginning, understanding from hearing no me, no I, they are conditions. There can be a moment of beginning to just understand at that moment of the characteristic which is now appearing. For example, that we used to talk about hardness is there, see? Until it's just hardness, even just is so very, very short moment, but it's just begin to understand the truth that actually the truth is that it's only hard, that's all, no more. It's the way to let go the idea of self, the clinging to the idea of self, little by little. But it takes quite a long, long time. Who knows? From eons and eons before Buddha became enlightened. But the confidence of the truth begin to be more and more confident, more firm, to see the value, the benefit of understanding. Nothing can compare. It takes one away from trouble. Understanding it, depending on how clear of the understanding of that reality which appears. When it appears not as flower and bed or anything, only hardness, it begins to understand little by little. But Lopa is always there, all the time, until it shows up as it's there. Small or big, little or big enough to see, apparent enough. Is there Lopa now? We're talking about it because not yet, not enough understanding. So all depends on understanding. Life goes as usual, as it's conditioned, as before, as now. But the understanding begins to develop little by little. The most important is when there's more understanding, there's more confidence of the truth, that it is just that, only that. We can be this personality of this I only in this life. Who knows how long? Tomorrow, no this person anymore. Never. Not from here to there. All completely gone. And as you just said many times, the temporary death. So it's very, very natural, common, usual as it is.
Ajahn, I think actually Dhamma are normal, only the way how Dhamma goes, things are conditioned. So actually they are actually, nothing is abnormal, because how can Dhamma be abnormal? Dhamma, the way of Dhamma is normal, Dhammata. But the self want this to be that is wanting, so it's abnormal. That's want to be abnormal.
Without condition, nothing can arise as it is. As it's conditioned to be.
Yes, yes.
I also want to say to Lucas, in your disease, there are two components, two things. Something is body, and so you feel inside a very painful situation, very inside a storm, I think, of emotions. Something are made by chemical events, and so you have to ask your doctor how to use in the correct way your drugs, and also ask your psychologist help for your thoughts and so on. And so and then there are also more spiritual more deeper mental problems. And I think sometimes it's useful to think that you are not alone. We are sort of a net. We are one people. We are connected all together. And so I think you are not alone with your pain, even when you feel that you are alone with your pain. There is a group of people which can help you, and also you can be very useful to other people, because maybe if you find some way to feel better, maybe you will be useful also to other people which feel your same pain. And so I think I want you to feel your great preciousness. You are very, very precious, even when you feel you are not good, even when you feel you did something very wrong. Even in this moment, you are very precious for other people.
David, yes, thank you very much. I actually have all of this medical care and psychologists and everything, but thank you for your support. Yeah, appreciate it.
And I think that, Lucas, when it seems like there is depression all the time, as you know, because you've studied the Dhamma so much, actually there are just moments that arise and fall away. And it's true, as you say, that a moment of aversion, at a moment of dosa, there cannot be understanding at that moment. But understanding can pop in any time. So amongst the dosa, there can be understanding that it is a Dhamma that falls away instantly. And I thought there was a comment that Ajahn made that was very interesting. One becomes preoccupied with the unpleasantness because no one likes unpleasantness, but one doesn't see that lobha is there all the time because it's not appearing. But in order for there to be so much aversion, there has to be a lot of attachment, a lot of clinging to things being pleasant or the way we would like them. So sometimes it seems there's just dosa, but what about the attachment? Like even now, there can be attachment to what's seen or to what's heard or the way one thinks. So different realities all the time. Anything else you would like to ask Ajahn or bring up, Lucas?
Yes, actually, I jotted down, I think this is a few questions, but maybe one I can pick up of this, and that's to Ajahn. I was wondering what is the difference in between an object and the experiencing of the object. So is there any way of learning that, a special way? Because object, doesn't experience anything, but what way is it known then, or understood? Also, the other question is about, can we say right view, for right understanding, a right view, that we cultivate a right view actually, that is the right understanding. So that's my questions,
Is it just a desire, a moment of desire to want to know, or just what is the truth of it? To understand, not just want to know.
That's intention, not intention. The chanda you ask. I think I mostly chanda is predominant in my case when I don't feel depression, of course. Yeah.
Because all belong to me, any moment.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So the point is that there is ignorance of taking that which is there as you or me a problem. But actually, it's just a moment of a reality conditioned to be that and then gone. And there is thinking a lot about it, and thinking is not understanding. So the precious moment is understanding the truth more firm, that there's no me, it's not me, anatta. We just say simply, no me, no I, no thing at all. It's only that which is conditioned to arise and falls away from moment to moment, years and years ago. Nobody can change the way it is. That's why attachment and ignorance take it for something so important, like it's me, it's that, it's that. But actually, no more. Only at the moment when it appears, very fast, very little, and then gone completely. But wrong understanding, ignorance, just remember and take it for something. Atta sanya, you know the Pali, see? The sanya marks and remember that which appear as thing, shape, and form, see? But actually, all gone, only the idea, thinking about it, with no understanding. And this is the point of just born and die, on and on and on, non-stop, because of not understanding the conditions for the arising of this moment. So the best thing in life is to understand the truth. It does mean that as I understand, I would try so hard to get it, but understand that it cannot belong to anyone to do anything. It is conditioned. And what condition? Ignorance or right understanding. When it's right understanding, it begins to understand that actually there's no self, but they are conditioned for this moment and this moment and this moment, on and on and on and on, all the time. And where are they? Where were they? No more. Only that. And then it can beginning to let go. The idea of clinging too much about life, about I would like it to be this way or that way. One is a trouble when there is attachment to make it the way you like because of the idea of it's me, but actually it's no. So in a day, there can be time, but even now it's only the accumulation for such thinking or seeing or hearing the way life goes on. That's all. It has to be by conditions and accumulation. It's kind of relief from the hard task, try to make it this way, or try to understand it, or try to do this and that. And that is not the noble truth at all, because the noble truth must be so very, very subtle. It's the panya which begin to develop among the unwholesome and ignorance at moment of seeing and hearing. See, 3 moments after seeing, there is asava, titasava, avijjasava already. See, so how can panya develop quick enough or fast enough to understand everything like we are talking about? It's not that. The truth is the truth, that there must be the wise considering of the truth, whether it's true or not. This is the beginning. Life is not permanent. Each moment arises and falls away. This is the beginning of the development to let go the idea of self by understanding, not by anyone at all. Have more confidence of life is just the way it is by accumulation and conditions, that's all. No matter it's moving one's eye, turning one's to this and that way, whatever in life, no more. Only once, only one moment, very short and then gone. And ignorance is there from life to life. So how much ignorance? Enormous, very, very great. No one can count the moment of ignorance today and the moment of attachment today, comparing to the moment of understanding. That's why one begins to understand what's meant by parami and kanti parami. Nekamma barami, not to cling, just want it to be this way or that way, but to understand the way it is. No one, no me. It's Dhamma. When it's Dhamma, and it's gone instantly. Thinking is not moment of seeing. Dreaming is not moment of seeing. Hearing, smelling, see? Different moments, they are real only when it's there and then gone, one by one. So there are many questions after hearing or learning or listening, talking about the truth, to think more, consider more, to have more confidence, whether is there anything real but not appear as object. Okay? Instead of thinking about other things, there can be moments by accumulation of hearing and considering, to consider moment of finding the truth of this moment. It can be thinking about it in the beginning, and later on it can be the moment of understanding that which appears little by little. When it's there, nothing else, it means that there is direct understanding and direct awareness. Even it's so weak, it's different from moment when there is no sati and panya at all, direct understanding. This is life, different life by conditions. From ignorance, there can be the understanding. From hearing, considering, and have more confidence of no I, no thing, no word. And reality can be clearer and clearer when it appears, when there is understanding only. But when there is no understanding, how can it appear as it is, as clear as it is, that it's so very short, just arise and falls away? So it's not I who would like to develop or who would like to help the other this way or that way. All depends, even when at moment when one is kind, by conditions. At moment when it's anger, different moment, different conditions. All by conditions. And we can think about the truth little by little, more and more. Clear understanding, even at the beginning of intellectual understanding. For example, is there anything to be taken for world? The whole world full of everything. Many, many things appearing now. Is this the world, or what is the world in truth? It's the fruit of consideration to understand the truth, little by little, by each different accumulation. Better than think about this and that, which is not real.
Like Ajahn, you were saying that we think of the world as many things and all that, but actually the world is just a moment of Dhamma that arises and falls in.
So the world is not many things together, right?
Yeah.
And when it does not appear as that, does one understand the world as it is?
No.
See? But Panya can understand clearer and deeper at this moment. But when there's no understanding of such level, it means that ignorance is still there, as much as it has been accumulated. And Panya just begin to understand little by little, to erase, to let go, to wear away the idea of very strong clinging to the self. That's why we learn about Sanya now. It marks, it remembers the object. It cannot see, but it can remember the object which is seen by seeing. So it has the same object, but different function, different characteristic. Each is conditioned. No one can make it arise, and it's gone completely. Blindly, when there's no understanding. So one can compare understanding to the light in darkness. Otherwise, it seems like we can think about this, we can remedy, we can do what we like, but actually, no we, no I. If one have less thinking for oneself, about oneself, it's much better when there is a little understanding of that which appears as not self. For example, at this moment of seeing, is there anything else?
No.
What is true? The truth of this moment. When we use the word this moment, what does it mean? See? It brings more understanding of the truth. Nothing at all, except that which is there, which the experience it. Only that. And this is the world.
Yes.
With this, how can there be world?
Yeah. Actually, moment is just one.
But it's all gone. Every experience is already gone. That's why I don't understand that. It's not there anymore. Everything, it's so quick, you know. So it's very hard to understand something this is not there actually, you know.
Okay. When you move on the stick, the light, it appears as round, right? The way you move it around.
Say again, Ajahn, I didn't get you.
Because you see that as soon as one reality has fallen away, see, citta, one citta falls away, the pacchaya of that citta condition the next citta instantly, yes. No gap in between, by Nantara pacchaya, see, who can change?
And Samanantara.
Yes, and Samanantara. It has to be only that reality, not other, the way it is. To understand that all are Dhamma, no one make it, arrange it to be there, to be such.
Mm.
And it is letting go all thing that we take for my sadness or my happiness or my thing and my eye and my leg and my hand. No thing at all. No one at all, only different realities. Otherwise, we don't understand the truth of this moment, no matter it is that which experience or that which cannot experience.
And Lucas, the fact that everything falls away so quickly explains the futility of trying to look for or find Dhammas because they're gone already. But they can be known by Panya.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
but I wonder like that. Do we need to know actually characteristic of each of the Dhamma first? Because Sabbe Anatta, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta, everything, is Anatta. And I wonder if we do really need to know the characteristic of each Dhamma that is an object beforehand, to understand like Anatta-ness and Anicca and Dukkha, you know. Because, you know,
the Dhamma cannot become the object without its characteristic being known.
The object is always the Dhamma,
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. And that's like struggling maybe attachment and chanda to the looking for the characteristic to be known now while it's gone already, you know. So it's a big self there, just hunting for hunting for to know the Dhammas, you know, and for pleasantness.
Chanda with attachment, when it's looking to find the particular one or trying to catch.
I think so, yeah.
So it's interest, but it's akusala interest with attachment.
Right, yeah. Because Lobha cannot do anything by its own, isn't it? It just only wants to. And Chanda, like, help it to get it, yeah, right. I would say.
So the Chanda, there can be kusala Chanda, interest in understanding what appears now very naturally, and akusala Chanda with attachment, trying to
akusala Chanda,
to focus on it, like David mentioned at the beginning, trying to do something.
Also, there is so many cetasikas that help the mind, the chitta, and I think that so many of them, so many like forgetfulness, like sati, but that's only reality, yeah. But forgetfulness is not a reality, but it's like manasikara, vitaka, sanya, you know, and they look like all one, the same, you know, when there is no understanding yet, you know, because it only proves there is not yet understanding sufficient enough, because even intellectual understanding is not enough, yeah, to eradicate anything, I think, so.
It shows it's not dosa all the time and domanassa all the time.
Yeah, but for my case, it's a lot of depressive
Chanda, the attachment, clinging is there. I trying to do something, I trying to change it. It's all that clinging to self is with attachment.
Anyway, Dhamma is really not easy, and it's very deep and profound, you know.
Jyotika, you had your hand raised earlier. Do you want to come in with a comment or question?
We can't hear you, Jyotika.
Mike.
I have a question, but I think it is almost time. So maybe next time.
A few minutes and you've been waiting patiently. Why not mention your question? And if we run out of time, we can carry on next time. So we can just start it.
The question is about if you can have suicide, killing yourself with compassion. From compassion, or killing or suicide. Someone came to me and wanted to have suicide, got all the allowances from the doctors, from the psychiatrists, and so on. And I thought, I cannot help her this way. But the minister helped her, and everybody is saying it's so beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. And I feel so strange about it, because I know from a Buddhist monk never go together with the suicide. But I hear also that there are monks who took suicide and it was okay with the Buddha. So it's just, I'm longing for more clarity on that subject.
Can it be when there's sorry, someone else is speaking?
And of course there is lower popularity.
You go ahead. It's quite a complex area, but essentially, like you mentioned the bhikkhu there, because I know a little bit about this. That's one of the parajikas, or what's called defeats for bhikkhu, is that even if that bhikkhu suggests to another person to commit suicide, that is parajika. So from the Buddha's perspective, it's unhelpful and akusala to even suggest to another person that they may commit suicide. Now, you brought up that case of that particular monk who did suicide. That is true. There is a bhikkhu who did suicide, and there have been other bhikkhus in latter times. I know a bhikkhu in Sri Lanka. It's not uncommon. However, in the case of the bhikkhu who suicided in the Buddha's time, he actually became arahata. So there were moments so even though obviously he had a lot of bodily pain and anguish, obviously mental anguish too, he, at the moment of death, was Arahata Magga and Pala. Probably, no doubt, I don't know whether he was Sotapanna beforehand, probably not, maybe he was. But anyway, Sariputta tried to dissuade that monk not to take the knife to himself. And subsequently, when the bhikkhu did take the knife to himself, Sariputta went to the Buddha and asked him about it. And the Buddha said that the monk was free from blame because he was arahata. So it just goes to show you that sometimes what may look on the outside is actually suicide. In this particular case, he was actually pure, if you like, pure in the sense of arahata magga and pala, had purified the chitta and cetasika, obviously, at that particular time. But suicide also, I remember Ajahn has spoken to the subject before. It's human life is very, very precious, and we should always take every moment, whether we're in pain or in pleasure, so to speak, that we develop understanding. Human life is so very, very precious, and it's conditioned by a lot of ignorance. When people say that, it's quite common these days. They talk about it, euthanasia or whatever you like to call it. It's not actually the euthanasia is a Greek word. It means good death. It's not a good death when suicide is committed. I don't see that as good, anything good about that at all. People just might, and usually people don't like aversion. They don't like unpleasant bodily feeling, as we've discussed a little bit today. But that can be the object of understanding. So with the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha being the great doctor and in so many ways, we should use every moment we have, ideally by conditions, to develop understanding. So when we hear people talking about suicide, and also a lot of these people do not understand or appreciate the nature of rebirth or the nature of samsara, they think, that they can commit suicide and therefore everything will be all right. But to me, that seems very foolish. And it would be very likely, it seems to me, I don't like to speculate too much, but I don't see a particularly happy birth when you suicide. But however, I can't say that obviously completely, because that's not a matter that I can penetrate, but that's what it would seem like to me, that because of your attachment, and suicide is conditioned by a lot of attachment. You don't want what you have and you want something else, which is not very helpful. And it shows an incredible lack of understanding. It's understandable to a point, but it's not a very wise choice to make.
Jyotika also by the elders in Theravada, in Atasalini, the commentary to the second book of Abhidhamma, to the first book of Abhidhamma, it is explained that different karmas done by body, speech, and mind, and it's always said and always that any killing is always done with akusala, and there is no exception. And I think it's more done by dosa, So there is no exception. The killing is always done with akusala, by the elders' commentaries. Thank you.
Really. Also, when it is really very, when there is so much pain that I start to doubt at that point. I know, but and then it's always said that it's because of compassion.
I think
when people say that, so that.
Is it wrong view? Is it wrong view?
No, go ahead, Sarah.
Hear it from Sarah.
And like Maeve said earlier about just showing kindness. So the good friend is the one that encourages others in their kusala, in goodness. And yes, when there's the plan or thought to take away one's life, it's not kusala, different moments of clinging, different moments of dosa. So the good friend is the one that encourages anyone in any kind of kusala.
like for example, if suppose your relative in hospital and living with the oxygen, if you doctor asks whether you want that person to live or dead, and we know that they're suffering, so even we say that okay, take the machine out, that also is akusala, because akusala can do that. Kusala cannot do that, even though whatever, due to whatever reason.
And Jyotika, compassion is for the others and never with unpleasant feeling. It cannot be compassion for oneself. So when one hears about the others' difficulties and their wish to commit suicide, there can be compassion, but not with unpleasant feeling, because that's dosa. But for oneself, it cannot be compassion. It's clinging. What one takes for compassion is strong attachment to oneself.
I see a lot of confusion
and just there. Well, yes, there is, because life is difficult to understand. You know, we need a very wise teacher like Ajahn and ultimately like the Buddha to help us understand these things. And people have this rather distorted idea that it's compassionate to take somebody's life when they're suffering. That's very dangerous levels of akusala to get involved in that or to be part of that. It's unfortunate, but that's what some people think, because perhaps all their friends say so or whatever. But it's unfortunate when people have that point of view, and it's more unfortunate too when people call that compassion. That's not compassion. That's not being wise. That's being foolish.
I think time's up, so perhaps we can carry on with this topic next week, Jyotika.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.